Good morning, afternoon, evening, everyone. Today, I want to take you on a journey, one that explores the incredible power of motivation through the lens of both nature and the wisdom of Simon Sinek. We often look to books, leaders, and businesses for inspiration. But what if some of the greatest lessons about purpose, resilience, and leadership are hidden in the world around us? Simon Sinek, known for his groundbreaking ideas on leadership and the why behind success, teaches us that true motivation isn't just about pushing harder. It's about having a deep-rooted purpose, much like the unstoppable forces we see in nature. From the perseverance of a tree growing through concrete to the unity of a flock of birds in flight, nature teaches us that success is not about speed, but about consistency, adaptation, and teamwork. So today, let's dive into the powerful lessons nature and Simon Sinek both offer us, lessons that will help us build an unstoppable motivation in our own lives. Simon Sinek's concept of a start with why is one of the most powerful ideas in modern motivational thinking. It emphasizes that people and organizations who understand their deeper purpose, their why, are more inspired, more resilient, and more capable of leading meaningful lives. When we look at nature, we find countless examples of this same principle in action. Nature never acts without purpose. The sun rises, rivers flow, trees grow, and animals migrate, all according to instinctual drives that align with survival, growth, and balance. Everything in nature exists with a reason, a role, and a rhythm. Similarly, when we align ourselves with our purpose, we unlock a level of motivation that becomes unstoppable. Sinek explains that most people and organizations operate from the outside in. They focus first on what they do, then how they do it, and finally, if at all, why they do it. But truly inspiring leaders and fulfilled individuals reverse this order. They start with the whoosh, then move to how, and finally to what. This inside-out approach is what gives people clarity, direction, and the energy to keep going, even when things get difficult. When we start with a why, we tap into a source of motivation that doesn't depend on rewards, approval, or results. It comes from within. In nature, we can observe this kind of internal drive clearly. Take, for example, the migration of monarch butterflies. These delicate creatures travel thousands of miles from North America to central Mexico every year. They face storms, predators, exhaustion, and countless obstacles, yet they continue on their journey. Why? Because it's built into them. It's their purpose. They don't need external motivation. Their why is embedded in their DNA. They move with intention and determination, just as we do when we are connected to our true purpose. Simon Sinek's idea also applies to individuals trying to find motivation in everyday life. When someone knows why they wake up every morning, whether it's to support their family, create something meaningful, or help others, they move through life with a different kind of energy. Challenges don't stop them, they fuel them. Setbacks don't defeat them, they shape them. A person with a strong why sees effort not as a burden, but as part of their mission. They're not just surviving, they're building something bigger than themselves. The same principle applies to leadership. Great leaders inspire not because they have all the answers or the best strategies, but because they communicate from a place of purpose. Think of Martin Luther King Jr., when he delivered his iconic "I have a dream" speech. He didn't start by listing policy changes or specific demands. He started with a vision. He started with EY. His message moved people not because of what he wanted to achieve, but because of why he believed it mattered. His why resonated on a human level, connecting hearts and minds to a shared purpose. Nature's ecosystems also teach us about the power of purpose. In a beehive, for example, every bee has a role, and every role contributes to the survival of the whole colony. The worker bees don't need to be convinced to do their job. They understand their role instinctively. Their purpose drives their actions. Without this alignment, the entire system would collapse. Humans, too, thrive when we understand our role and see how our efforts contribute to something larger. When we operate from our why, we also attract others who believe what we believe. Sinek calls this the law of diffusion of innovation, where early adopters and innovators connect with a cause not because of what it offers, but because of what it stands for. This creates a ripple effect, where people rally around a shared belief, building movements, teams, and communities that are deeply motivated and highly resilient. People who start with a why are not immune to failure or fatigue, but their response to hardship is different. Just like a tree that bends in the wind but doesn't break, they adapt and continue to grow. Their roots are deep. Their motivation is not shaken by a bad day or a lost opportunity, because their actions are anchored in something more enduring than circumstances. They know they're a why, and that keeps them moving forward, even when the way isn't clear. In every corner of the natural world, we can see the quiet power of purpose at work. A salmon swimming upstream, a flower blooming toward the sun, a spider spinning its web with careful precision. All these actions are driven by a deep internal code. They don't stop to question if it's worth it. They don't wait for permission. They just do it because it's who they are. When we reconnect with our own why, we can approach our lives with that same sense of clarity, determination, and natural flow. In both nature and human life, one of the most powerful forces for growth is the ability to adapt and remain resilient in the face of challenges. Simon Sinek often emphasizes that success is not about perfection or having everything go according to plan. It's about how we respond when things don't. Nature is the ultimate teacher in this regard. Everywhere we look, we see examples of life adjusting, bending, and finding new ways to thrive despite adversity. From the smallest plant growing through cracks in concrete to entire species evolving over generations to survive changing environments, nature's secret is its ability to adapt. Simon Sinek's approach to motivation and leadership echoes this idea. He believes that true leaders and successful individuals are not those who avoid problems, but those who lean into them, learn from them, and grow because of them. The ability to remain flexible, to pivot, to reassess, and to move forward despite setbacks is the key to long-term success. Now, motivation doesn't come from everything being easy. It comes from developing the strength to keep going when things are hard. Nature shows us that adaptation is not about weakness, it's a form of strength. Take the chameleon, for example. It changes its color not just for camouflage, but also to regulate temperature and communicate. This isn't just survival, it's strategy. It's the ability to use what's available in the moment to keep moving forward. Likewise, humans who learn to adapt in different situations, emotionally, mentally, and physically, gain an advantage. They become more resilient because they're not stuck in one way of thinking or being. They learn to see challenges as part of the process rather than interruptions. Resilience is also deeply connected to mindset. Simon Sinek often talks about how mindset influences our ability to keep going. If someone views failure as a sign to stop, their motivation disappears. But if failure is seen as feedback, a natural part of growth, then every setback becomes a stepping stone. In nature, failure is just part of the cycle. A tree loses its leaves in winter, not as a sign of death, but as preparation for regrowth. Animals hibernate, not because they are weak, but because they understand the rhythms of survival. This natural wisdom applies directly to human motivation. Periods of rest, struggle, or change are not losses. They are opportunities to adapt and come back stronger. Simon Sinek also emphasizes the importance of trust and support in developing resilience. In nature, very few organisms survive alone. Trees and forests communicate through their root systems, sharing nutrients and warnings. Birds fly in formation, taking turns at the front to reduce fatigue. Wolves hunt in packs, relying on one another for success. This cooperative behavior builds resilience into the system. Similarly, people who build strong relationships, teams, families, communities, are more motivated and better equipped to handle pressure. They don't feel like they're facing the world alone. Just like in nature, strength is found in connection. Another key lesson from nature is that adaptation often comes slowly, but with lasting impact. Evolution doesn't happen overnight. It takes generations. But over time, species become stronger, more capable, and more suited to their environments. This mirrors Sinek's idea of the infinite mindset, where the goal isn't short-term success, but long-term purpose. A person who is committed to growth over time doesn't panic when things go wrong. They adjust. They learn. They keep going. Their motivation comes from a long view, not a quick win. One of the most inspiring examples of resilience in nature is the lotus flower. It grows in muddy, murky water, yet blooms beautifully above the surface. Its environment doesn't define it. It rises through difficulty to become something extraordinary. This is the essence of human resilience. People who emerge from hardship with greater strength and clarity have learned to grow through the mud. They've developed not just coping strategies, but a mindset that turns pain into purpose. Simon Sinek speaks to this idea when he encourages people to embrace discomfort, to face fear, and to lead even when conditions aren't perfect. In business, relationships, or personal growth, things rarely go exactly as planned. The world changes, people change, circumstances shift. But those who succeed, those who remain motivated, are the ones who can bend without breaking. They see change not as a threat, but as a call to evolve. They are like rivers that carve through rock over time, not by force, but by persistence. They adapt to the terrain, shift their course, and continue flowing. Ultimately, resilience and adaptation are about movement. Staying stuck is not natural. In nature, even when something appears still, there is growth happening beneath the surface. Its seeds germinate underground before breaking through the soil. Caterpillars dissolve into mush before becoming butterflies. In the same way, humans go through internal seasons of transformation. Even when nothing seems to be happening, the willingness to adapt and the determination to keep going build strength over time. Simon Sinek's idea of the infinite mindset offers a profound shift in how we view success, growth, and motivation. Unlike the finite mindset, which focuses on winning short-term achievements and comparing oneself to others, the infinite mindset is grounded in continuous improvement, long-term vision, and purpose-driven living. Nature operates entirely through an infinite lens. There are no final wins in nature, only cycles, progress, and evolution. A tree does not grow to defeat the trees around it. It simply grows, reaching toward the light, adjusting its roots, adapting with the seasons. This is the essence of the infinite mindset. Growth for the sake of becoming, not for the sake of beating someone else. When we adopt this kind of thinking, motivation transforms. It is no longer tied to trophies, applause, or short bursts of success. Instead, it becomes sustainable because it's rooted in something deeper than competition. Simon Sinek often speaks about how leaders and individuals with an infinite mindset are more resilient, more innovative, and ultimately more fulfilled. They understand that the real goal is not to win a single game, but to stay in the game, to keep growing, and to leave something behind that matters. In nature, there is never a final destination. Rivers don't stop flowing after reaching the ocean. The water evaporates, becomes clouds, falls as rain, and begins the journey again. This ongoing process mirrors the life of someone who lives with an infinite mindset. They are not seeking a finish line, they are constantly evolving. Their motivation is fed by the understanding that each day is part of a bigger picture, and each step forward contributes to something lasting. They are not afraid of taking the long road because they know that every experience, success, or setback is part of the journey. Simon Sinek uses the example of great organizations to illustrate this idea. Companies that thrive over decades are the ones that focus on their mission and values more than on quarterly profits. They are not obsessed with being number one. They are committed to staying relevant, ethical, and impactful over time. This same principle applies to individuals. A person with an infinite mindset isn't chasing fast fame or shallow validation. They are working on themselves, building relationships, creating value, and staying true to their purpose. Their motivation doesn't burn out because it is fueled by meaning, not pressure. Nature is full of examples where longevity comes from alignment, not speed. The tortoise may be slow, but it stays steady and finishes the race. Giant redwood trees take hundreds of years to reach full height, yet they stand as some of the most majestic and enduring living beings on Earth. Their roots connect with others underground, supporting not just themselves, but the entire ecosystem around them. This mirrors Simon Sinek's belief in building systems that outlast us, relationships, communities, and ideas that continue to grow even when we're no longer present. An infinite mindset also brings peace. In a world driven by comparison and urgency, it's easy to feel like you're falling behind. But nature teaches us that everything unfolds in its own time. A flower doesn't rush to bloom just because another one already has. It waits for the right conditions. It trusts its own process. When we apply this to our own lives, we become more patient with ourselves and more compassionate with others. We stop measuring our worth by someone else's timeline. We start finding motivation in our own journey, honoring our own pace. Simon Sinek emphasizes that in the infinite game, the players may change, the rules may evolve, but the game goes on. In our own lives, this means embracing change rather than fearing it. Just as seasons shift, rivers change course, and animals migrate, we too must evolve. The infinite mindset accepts that we are always becoming, always learning, and always adapting. There is no final version of who we are. There is only the next step, the next lesson, the next opportunity to grow. Even in failure, the infinite mindset finds purpose. Nature does not mourn a fallen tree. It becomes part of the soil, feeding new life. In the same way, setbacks are not dead ends but transitions. They teach us, redirect us, and prepare us for what comes next. This kind of thinking protects our motivation from being destroyed by disappointment. Instead of quitting, we reframe and continue. We understand that the process itself is valuable, and we remain committed to the journey. The infinite mindset also encourages collaboration over competition. In ecosystems, different species coexist and contribute to balance. Bees pollinate flowers, which feed animals, which spread seeds, which grow into new plants. It's not about one species dominating another. It's about harmony. In our own lives, this means lifting others up, sharing ideas, and focusing on collective progress. Simon Sinek explains that true leadership is about creating environments where people feel safe, valued, and inspired to contribute. When we lead with an infinite mindset, we build systems that don't just serve us, but everyone involved. Living with an infinite mindset is not about ignoring goals or avoiding achievement. It's about placing those goals within a larger, more meaningful context. Nature doesn't rush, yet everything is accomplished. When we let go of the pressure to prove ourselves and focus instead on being ourselves, fully, consistently, and with purpose, we tap into a well of motivation that never runs dry.